Welcome back, guys. This is going to be a very short episode. I'm working on radiator hoses for the hemi swap in my Dakota. I've got the older style radiator with the low pickup point and the high. The other one is about in the middle, and then it's got the filler cap as part of the upper hose for like the 4.7. I'm sure they still have the 5.2 at some point. I believe 2000s when it switched. Maybe this is a 99. Well, I can't find any write-up on what hoses people have used, even though this has been done. And the factory hose definitely didn't work, and I couldn't find anything from my other Ram to my Challenger to anything I could find online. No one answered that question, so I've started to study, and this is what I've ran into for the lower. I haven't figured out the upper yet. We'll figure that out another day, one step at a time. So for the lower, I needed a 2-inch to 1 3/4 and basically just needed a 90. Now this hose is not perfect. It's close though. We'll see. I might trim it a little bit and get it a little closer. So this is the upper radiator hose for a 2003 to 2010 Dodge Ram 2500 5.9 or 6.7 Cummins upper radiator hose. It's 2-inch and 1 3/4. At least is what it claims to on the catalog. It's a tight fit on the water pump and it is a tight fit on the radiator, but it does go on there without too much persuasion. So I'm going to get it back on there, show you the problem I have with it, which we're going to ignore for now, and I might shorten it and modify, see if I can solve that problem without having to modify the frame. It touches right here, just a bit. Well, let's see what it looks like with it back on. We're on the water pump, it curves in, it's pretty much going to line up with the port. The problem is it's hitting right here. It's not hitting super hard, but it's hitting hard enough. Let's see how far we can roll this back till it doesn't hit. It's still touching. So that means I've either got to clearance this guy, the cross member, which seems like quite a bit for a radiator hose, but I've been searching and searching and not finding an easy answer for this. But I'll see how much of this I can cut down and bring this up. Maybe that will give us the clearance we need. Radiator back in, and I've got it currently hooked up. It's snugly on the radiator, but we're on. I did trim about this much off of the big end to help scoot it over. Lengthwise, probably could have left it alone, but it's still sitting on the cross member. So I think I am going to mark it with a Sharpie and give it some clearance. Got it marked with a Sharpie where I'm going to clearance it. I'm not going to clearance it now, I'm going to clearance it later. I've ordered some 3-inch Schedule 40 steel pipe, which is 3-inch inner, 3.5 outer in a 90-degree elbow, because I'm going to try to just inset that tube so it's got a nice trough. I could maybe figure out another radiator hose, but until I cut this, I'm going to continue looking. But for right now, I've got hoses hooked up, and I have figured at the top. A 2011 to 2000 something Durango upper radiator hose went right on. I trimmed a bit. I trimmed this much off of this guy, and I trimmed just a little bit off of this end to help slide the hose over, because I had to stretch it over just a bit. Nothing too crazy, but chopping this end down a bit let me slide the whole hose over, and now it fits pretty good. Let me pop it back off. So here's where it sits. I'm not pulling, it's just floating. So that got it to work like this. So for right now, the minimum for hosing is complete. We've got an upper, we've got a lower. There may be a more desirable lower, but we shall see. That being dipped down is probably good for me for what I'm doing, because turbo's going here. Because I got my exhaust pipe that's got to come down and across, and it's got to come up somewhere in here. So that being tucked further away might help us, because this one's going to have plenty of clearance away from the radiator. This is going to get cut a little shorter. I've got some V-bands. Probably going to cut it all the way back to here so I can V-band and then immediately start aiming up. And the more room I can give it for that other pipe, the better. So I've got a V-band for this one. I've got a V-band for the other side. I've got a merge collector. I'm sure it's not proper for a turbo, but I don't really care. It'll work. So ideally one up, and then the other one comes across and comes up into the merge. Turbo here. But that's it for this one, guys. Just wanted to share that I did get some more progress. We have radiator hoses. I've still got to figure out what I'm going to do with my heater hoses. It's a moot point on this truck currently because the heater hasn't been hooked up for a long time because it leaks inside. The heater core is bad and I don't feel like replacing it even though winter is coming. Well, that's going to be it for this one, guys. We've got a lower radiator hose, we've got an upper radiator hose. Heater hoses won't be that big of a deal once I decide it's worth doing. I'm kind of hoping someone sees this and says, hey, use this part number for the lower and fix all my problems, but if that doesn't happen, which is fine, I'll just move forward with my plan with my Cummins hose. It'll be fine. It being tucked down is probably a good thing. Keep it away from the exhaust. It's going to be a fairly heavily modified truck now, so it's just one more thing to add to the list. Welding that piece in will keep it structurally sound. It'll be okay. But if you made it through all this, thank you for watching.